No one noticed the foal at first. Not the buyers pacing the dusty auction yard. Not the ranchers chatting loudly near the railings. Not even the auctioneer, who had already decided this lot would be over quickly. The foal stood half-hidden behind its mother's shadow, except there was no mother anymore. Just a thin, shaking body, ribs cutting sharply against its skin, head hanging low like it already knew the world had given up on it. And maybe it had. The wind carried the smell of hay and sweat through the auction grounds as the foal shifted its weight, legs trembling. Its coat was dull, patchy in places, clinging tightly to bones that shouldn't be visible on an animal this young. Every breath looked like effort. Every step looked optional. That's when she stopped walking. The woman hadn't planned to be here long. She told herself she'd just look. Just pass the time. Just remind herself what she couldn't afford anymore. Her boots slowed, then froze as her eyes locked onto the foal. Something in her chest tightened, sharp and familiar, because she recognized that look. It was the same one she'd seen in the mirror some nights. The look of someone running on empty, hoping no one noticed. Her name was Claire. 32 years old. A single mom. 2 jobs when she could get them. 1 kid at home with her sister for the day. And exactly $300 left in her bank account. That money wasn't extra. It wasn't savings. It was rent buffer. Grocery insurance. Emergency-only cash. And now she was staring at a starving foal no one wanted. A man leaned over the fence beside her, squinting at the animal. "That one won't last long," he muttered. "Probably shouldn't even be here." Claire swallowed. The foal lifted its head just slightly, dark eyes dull but alert, as if it sensed it was being discussed, judged, written off. She didn't know why she asked. The words just came out. "What's wrong with it?" The man shrugged. "Neglect. Maybe illness. Maybe just bad luck. Either way, it's a loss." A loss. The auctioneer's voice crackled over the loudspeaker, calling the next lot. The foal was guided, gently, but without ceremony, into the ring. It stumbled once, catching itself just in time. A few people shifted uncomfortably. Most looked away. "Opening bid," the auctioneer said briskly. 200. Silence. The foal stood there, tail hanging limp, sides heaving. Claire's heart started to race. She told herself to breathe. Told herself she was just feeling emotional. That she had no business even thinking about it. She thought of her son's lunchbox on the counter that morning. The overdue notice folded in her jacket pocket. The way her car made that noise when she turned left too fast. $200. "Anyone," the auctioneer pressed. A man near the back scoffed. "You'd have to pay me." A ripple of laughter followed. Claire felt heat rush to her face, not embarrassment, but anger. Sharp and sudden. The foal flicked an ear. "Just once." "Fine," the auctioneer said. 100. Still nothing. Claire's chest felt tight now, like something was squeezing it from the inside. She could walk away. She should walk away. That's what responsible people did. That's what everyone would tell her later. But then the foal took a step forward and nearly collapsed. A handler caught it just in time. Something inside Claire broke open. 100, she said, her voice barely louder than the wind. Heads turned. The auctioneer blinked. "I've got 100. Anyone else?" The pause. A long one. "Sold," he said. To the lady in the denim jacket. Just like that, it was over. Claire didn't move. Her hands were shaking. People murmured as they walked past her. Some curious, some amused, some quietly judgmental. "Good luck," someone said, not kindly. She didn't answer. As the handler led the foal out, Claire followed, heart pounding harder with every step. What had she just done? She did the math automatically, vet costs, feed, transport, numbers stacking into something terrifying. A man approached her near the gate. Older. Sunworn face. Calm eyes. "You know what you bought," he said carefully. Claire nodded, though she wasn't sure she did. "It might die," he continued. "Soon." She looked at the foal again. Close, it was worse. The bones. The sores starting to form along its back. The way it flinched when someone moved too fast. "I know," she said. The man studied her for a moment. "Then why?" Claire hesitated, then answered honestly, "Because if no one does anything, it definitely will." The foal shifted, stepping closer to her without realizing it. When her hand lifted, slow, careful, it didn't pull away. It didn't lean in either. But it stayed. That small decision felt enormous. Claire didn't know it yet, but this moment, the last $300, the weakest foal, the quiet choice no one applauded, was the beginning of everything changing. And the ending? No one there could have imagined it. Not even her. The foal didn't fight the trailer. That should have worried Claire more than it did. Most young horses resisted, pulled back, planted their hooves, tested boundaries. This one simply followed, step by careful step, as if it had already learned that resistance wasted energy it didn't have. Its head hung low, ears loose, eyes half-lidded. Not calm. Just tired. The ranch owner who'd agreed to sell her a bag of old hay shook his head as he helped secure the gate. "You're brave," he said. "Or crazy?" Claire managed a thin smile. Probably both. The drive home felt longer than it was. Every bump in the road made her glance at the rearview mirror, heart jumping. The foal swayed slightly with emotion but stayed upright. Once, it let out a soft sound, barely a whinny, more like a breath with a question in it. "I know," Claire whispered, though she didn't know what she was answering. Her property wasn't really a ranch. It was 5 fenced acres she rented cheaply because no one else wanted them. Patchy grass, an old lean-to, and a small barn that leaned a little more every winter. She'd planned to use it someday. Now someday had arrived uninvited. When she opened the trailer, the foal hesitated. The world beyond was quiet. No shouting. No auction bells. Just evening lights spilling across the dirt and the smell of damp earth. Claire stepped back, giving it space. She waited. After a long moment, the foal stepped down. Its legs wobbled. It caught itself. Then stood there, unsure, as if waiting for something bad to happen. Nothing did. Claire exhaled. She led it slowly into the small pen she'd prepared with borrowed fencing and the softest hay she could find. The foal lowered its head and sniffed. Took a tentative bite. Chewed. Claire's throat tightened. She didn't let it eat much. She'd read enough to know too much too fast could kill it. Instead, she sat on an overturned bucket and watched the sun slip behind the trees, listening to the foal breathe. That's when the shaking started. At first, she thought it was the cold. Then she saw the way its legs trembled, how it struggled to stay balanced. Panic surged through her. "No, no, no," she murmured, standing quickly. She called the only vet within driving distance, heart pounding as it rang. "This is Dr. Harris." I just bought a foal," Claire said, the words tumbling out. "It's malnourished. Really bad. It's shaking." The pause. Then, "How old? Maybe 6 months? I'm not sure." Another pause, heavier this time. "I'll be honest with you," the vet said. "Foals in that condition have a low survival rate, especially without immediate care." Claire leaned against the fence, the weight of that sentence pressing down on her chest. "Can you come? I can be there in an hour." It felt like a countdown. While she waited, Claire sat in the dirt, close but not touching. The foal's breathing was shallow now, fast. Its eyes fluttered. Once, it startled and tried to move away from her, bumping into the fence. Fear flashed through it, raw and sudden. "I'm not going to hurt you," Claire said softly, even though she knew it didn't understand the words. "I promise." She stayed still. Let the fear pass. When the vet arrived, the sky was fully dark. He worked quietly, efficiently, checking gums, listening to the heart, drawing blood. Claire hovered, useless and desperate. "It's touch and go," Dr. Harris finally said. "Severely underweight. Dehydrated. There's more." Her stomach dropped. "More?" He straightened, his face grave. "There are old rope marks. Bruising under the skin. This foal wasn't just neglected. It was handled rough." Claire felt something hot and fierce rise inside her. She thought of the laughter at the auction. The shrugging shoulders. "Can it survive?" she asked. The vet hesitated. "Maybe. If it makes it through the next 48 hours. He explained the plan. Fluids, tiny meals, rest, warmth. He quoted numbers she barely heard. All she caught was the total at the end. It was more than she had. Claire swallowed. "Do what you can," she said. "I'll figure it out." After he left, she sat alone in the dark, arms wrapped around herself, listening to the foal's uneven breathing. She texted her sister, "Can you keep Eli overnight?" The reply came quickly, "Of course. Are you okay?" Claire stared at the screen, then typed, "I don't know." Sometime after midnight, the foal tried to stand and collapsed. Claire was there in seconds, hands hovering, afraid to touch but more afraid not to. The foal lay still, chest barely moving. "Please," she whispered. "Please don't." Minutes stretched. Her knees ached. Her eyes burned. Then, slowly, the foal drew a deeper breath. Another. It didn't stand again, but it lived. Claire laughed then cried, the sound breaking free in the quiet night. She didn't notice the foal's head turned slightly toward her, didn't see the way its ear flicked at the sound of her voice. But something had shifted. By morning, word had spread. A neighbor stopped by the fence. Then another. They looked at the foal, now wrapped in blankets, still fragile, and at Claire, eyes red and hollow. "You really bought it?" someone asked. She nodded. "Why?" Claire looked down at the foal, then back up. "Because someone had to." What she didn't know yet was that the foal had a story of its own, one that would surface soon, bringing consequences no one was prepared for. And the gamble she thought she'd made? It was only beginning to reveal its cost. The foal survived the second night. That alone felt like a miracle. Claire woke up stiff and sore on the barn floor, sunlight slipping through the warped boards above her. For one terrifying second, she forgot where she was. Then she heard it, the faint, uneven breath coming from the corner of the stall. She scrambled to her feet. The foal was still down, but its eyes were open now. Watching her. Not glazed. Not distant. Present. Claire laughed softly, relief flooding her so hard it made her dizzy. "Hey," she whispered. "You're still here." The foal didn't move, but it didn't flinch either when she stepped closer. That felt like progress. Tiny, fragile progress, but real. Dr. Harris arrived mid-morning. He knelt beside the foal, checking vitals, adjusting fluids. His brow furrowed, then slowly relaxed. "It's stronger," he said. "Still critical. But stronger." Claire let out a breath she felt like she'd been holding for days. As the vet carefully rolled the foal onto its side to check pressure sores, Claire noticed something she hadn't before. A dark shape. At first, she thought it was dirt, maybe a shadow, maybe bruising. But as the light shifted, the shape sharpened into lines. Deliberate. Angular. Her heart skipped. "What is that?" she asked. Dr. Harris froze. He leaned closer, brushing the hair aside with practiced fingers. What emerged made him go very still. It wasn't a wound. It was a brand. Faded, but unmistakable. Claire felt her stomach drop. "That means?" "It means this foal belonged to someone," the vet said slowly. "And not just anyone. That's a registered mark." Claire stared at the symbol burned into fragile skin. "Then how did it end up at auction?" Dr. Harris didn't answer right away. His jaw tightened. "That's the question." The discovery changed everything. By afternoon, the quiet sympathy from neighbors turned into curiosity. Phones came out. Photos were taken. Someone posted online. A local horse group, then a rescue forum. Skinny foal with registered brand rescued from auction. Anyone recognize this mark? The response was immediate. Comments poured in. Messages stacked faster than Claire could read them. Then one message made her hands go cold. That brand belongs to Red Mesa Range. Claire Googled it. Red Mesa Range was no small operation. It was a high-profile breeding ranch with a polished website, glowing testimonials, and a reputation built on excellence and ethics. Their horses sold for tens of thousands. Their name carried weight. And somehow, one of theirs had nearly died unnoticed. By evening, a black truck pulled up outside Claire's gate. A man stepped out. Well-dressed. Confident. He didn't smile. "Claire Bennett?" he asked. "Yes. I'm with Red Mesa Range. We'd like to discuss the foal." Her pulse spiked. It's not for sale. He raised an eyebrow. That foal is our property. The words hit her like a slap. No, she said. I bought it. Fair and legal. The man's expression hardened. That foal was never authorized for auction. It was stolen. Claire's mind raced. Then why was it starving? Why was it abused? Silence stretched. I think it would be best if you let us take it back, he said. We'll compensate you. Compensate. The foal shifted behind her, a small sound escaping its throat. Claire stepped back instinctively, placing herself between it and the man. No, she said again. Stronger this time. His eyes flicked to the barn, then back to her. You're making this difficult. I'm protecting it, Claire replied. You can leave. The truck was gone minutes later, but the air felt heavier after it left. That night, Claire barely slept. Questions spiraled. If the foal had been stolen, who took it? Why abandon it? And why did Red Mesa want it back now, after it had nearly died? In the early hours before dawn, the foal surprised her again. It stood. Not for long. Not steady. But on its own. Claire covered her mouth, tears spilling as she watched it wobble, then lean, just slightly, toward her. Its shoulder brushed her leg. It didn't fall. That moment sealed it. Whatever this was becoming, she was in it. The next day brought another twist. A woman arrived at the gate, eyes wide as she took in the scene. She introduced herself as Mara, a former stable hand at Red Mesa Range. I saw the photos, Mara said quietly. I think I know what happened. They sat on overturned buckets as Mara talked. There had been cost-cutting, short staffing, pressure to hide losses. Horses that didn't meet expectations were quietly moved off records. Sometimes sold, sometimes dumped. That foal was sick early on, Mara said. Not badly. Just needed care. But care costs money. Claire's hands clenched. So they let it go. Mara nodded. And now that people are watching, they want it back. The foal let out a soft breath, leaning into Claire's side as if sensing the tension. Claire rested a hand against its neck. No, she said. They don't. By nightfall, the story was spreading beyond the county. Cheers. Outrage. Claire hadn't planned to fight a powerful ranch. She hadn't planned to be a symbol. She just spent her last $300 on a dying foal. But now, standing there as the foal stood beside her, weak, but alive, she realized something. This wasn't just about saving a horse anymore. It was about telling the truth. And the next move? It would change everything. By the end of the week, Claire's phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Messages poured in from strangers. Some kind, some furious, some demanding answers she didn't have. Local news left voicemails. Rescue organizations offered help. Others warned her to be careful. Red Mesa Range stayed silent. That silence was worse than threats. Claire moved through her days in a haze, balancing work calls with feeding schedules, vet instructions taped to the barn wall, and whispered conversations with her son at night. Is the horse okay now? Eli asked, eyes wide. He's trying, Claire said. Just like we do. The foal, she'd started calling him Ash, for the gray dust that clung to his coat and the way he'd risen from something nearly gone, was gaining strength in slow, stubborn inches. He still startled at sudden movements. Still flinched if someone raised a hand too quickly. But he ate. He drank. And every morning he stood a little longer. Trust, it turned out, grew the same way. One afternoon, as Claire gently brushed dried mud from Ash's neck, he leaned into the pressure. Fully. Deliberately. She froze. Then smiled so hard her cheeks hurt. That small gesture felt bigger than any headline. The next day, the letter arrived. Cease and desist. Red Mesa Range was formally demanding the return of their property. The language was sharp, clinical, legal. It warned of consequences. Of court. Claire's hands shook as she read it. She had none of the things people used to fight battles like this. No savings. No lawyer on retainer. No powerful friends. All she had was a foal who trusted her enough to stand close. Dr. Harris came by that evening, reading the letter in silence. They're betting you'll fold, he said finally. What if I can't afford not to? Claire whispered. He met her eyes. Then you make it expensive for them. The idea terrified her. But the next morning, Claire did something she'd never done before. She went live. Standing in the barn, Ash resting quietly behind her, Claire told the story. Not polished. Not perfect. Just the truth about the auction, the starvation, the brand, the threats. Her voice broke once. She didn't hide it. If sharing this helps him, she said, then it's worth it. Within hours, the video spread. Thousands of views turned into tens of thousands. Comments flooded in. People angry, people inspired, people offering help. Donations trickled, then poured. A rescue organization reached out, offering legal support. Then Red Mesa Range responded. They released a statement denying wrongdoing, calling the situation misrepresented, questioning Claire's credibility. The pressure mounted. A reporter showed up at the gate. Then another. Ash startled at the cameras, backing away, panic flashing in his eyes. Claire stepped in front of him instinctively, arms wide. Not today, she said firmly. That night, Claire sat alone in the barn, head in her hands. What if I lose you? She whispered to Ash. What if they take you? Ash shifted closer, his warm breath against her shoulder. He didn't run. 2 days later, the call came. Red Mesa Range wanted a meeting. Neutral ground. Mediator present. Claire almost said no. Then she looked at Ash, standing strong now, ribs still visible but eyes brighter, posture changed. She said yes. The room was cold and too bright. Lawyers spoke in careful phrases. Red Mesa's representatives avoided her eyes. They offered money. More than she'd ever seen at once. Enough to make this go away, one of them said. Claire thought of Eli's shoes with holes in the soles. Of overdue bills. Of sleep lost to worry. Then she thought of Ash collapsing in the dirt. No, she said. The room stilled. What do you want? The mediator asked. Claire's voice was steady. I want him safe. Legally. Forever. Silence stretched. Finally, Red Mesa's lead attorney sighed. If we relinquish ownership, he said slowly, this story ends. Claire met his gaze. For you. Not for him. They left the room to confer. Minutes felt like hours. When they returned, the decision was written in their faces. They would surrender the Foal. No admission of guilt. No apology. But Ash would be free. Claire signed with shaking hands. Outside, she leaned against the wall, breath hitching as it all caught up to her. The fight. The fear. The weight of it. She hadn't won money. She'd won a life. Back at the barn that night, Claire opened the gate and stepped inside. Ash lifted his head, ears forward. He walked to her, no hesitation now, and rested his forehead against her chest. Claire laughed through tears, wrapping her arms around his neck. It's okay, she whispered. You're home. What she didn't realize yet was that this ending, this victory, was only the beginning of something even bigger. Because Ash wasn't just surviving anymore. He was becoming something no one expected. Spring arrived quietly. Not all at once, but in signs. Soft green pushing through dry ground, warmer mornings, the sound of birds returning to the trees beyond the fence. Claire noticed the change most clearly in Ash. He stood taller now. Not just physically, though the hollow spaces along his ribs had begun to fill, his coat smoothing into a soft silver gray, but in the way he carried himself. His steps were surer. His head lifted more often. His eyes followed movement with curiosity instead of fear. The foal who once barely had the strength to breathe now trotted the length of the pasture just because he could. Claire leaned against the fence, coffee cooling in her hands, watching him move. Every time he broke into that awkward, joyful run, her chest tightened with something close to awe. No one expected this ending. Not the people at the auction. Not Red Mesa Range. Not even Claire herself. Ash's recovery became a quiet rhythm of care, measured feedings, patient grooming, gentle exercises. Trust grew in the spaces between moments. When Claire entered the pasture, Ash came to her. Not for food. Not out of habit. But because he wanted to. The first time she slipped a halter over his head without resistance, She had to stop and breathe. Ash stood still, ears relaxed, accepting her touch as if it had always been this way. Dr. Harris watched with a smile the day Ash took his first confident steps under light guidance. "You know," he said, "most people save animals hoping for gratitude." Claire shrugged. "I just wanted him to live." Ash flicked an ear toward her voice. That summer, the story found a second life. Schools invited Claire to speak. Small horse rescues reached out, asking for advice, help, hope. She never pretends to be an expert, just someone who didn't walk away. Ash became part of those visits. Children brushed his coat, eyes wide as they listened to how close he'd come to disappearing. Ash stood calmly among them, patient, gentle, nothing like the shaking foal from the auction ring. One afternoon, a little girl wrapped her arms around his neck and whispered, "You're safe now." Claire had to turn away. Financially, things were still tight, but different. Donations had helped cover the vet bills. The rescue community had stepped in when she'd needed them most. She'd learned something powerful: asking for help didn't mean failing. It meant surviving. On Ash's first birthday, at least the one they chose, Claire brought out an apple, sliced carefully. Ash crunched it happily, juice dripping down his chin. Eli laughed, clapping his hands. "That's my horse," he announced proudly. Ash lifted his head at the sound of Eli's voice and walked over, nudging him gently. Claire's heart swelled. That night, as the sun dipped low and painted the pasture gold, Claire sat on the fence and thought back to the moment that started it all. The last $300, the thin foal, the laughter in the auction crowd. She hadn't known the ending. She'd just known she couldn't look away. Ash wandered over and stood beside her, shoulder warm against her leg. He didn't need to lean for support anymore. He chose to. That choice felt like everything. Months later, a quiet email arrived from someone Claire didn't recognize. A rancher. Honest. Humble. "I saw your story," it read. "Because of Ash, I checked my own operation more closely. We changed things. Thank you." Claire stared at the screen for a long time. Ash had done more than survive. He had changed lives. On a crisp autumn morning, Claire led Ash to the far end of the pasture, where the fence opened to rolling land beyond. She stopped, unclipped the lead, and stepped back. Ash hesitated, just for a heartbeat, then took a few steps forward. He paused, looked back at her, ears flicking. Claire smiled. "Go on." Ash trotted out, free and confident, then turned and ran back to her, stopping so close she laughed as he nearly bumped into her. Freedom, it turned out, wasn't about leaving. It was about choosing where to stay. As the camera pulls back on this story, on a once-starving foal standing strong beside the woman who risked everything, it's easy to call it a miracle. But miracles don't happen on their own. They happen because someone sees suffering and decides not to ignore it. So if Ash's story moved you, even a little, take a second. Like the video. Share it. Subscribe. Because stories like this matter. And somewhere, right now, another life is waiting for someone to say yes. Claire spent her last $300 on a starving foal. What she gained? A reminder that compassion, when acted on, can change the world, one life at a time.